Michael, welcome to the program. Good afternoon.
Hi, thank you for taking my call.
You bet. What's up?
You're familiar with the Article 5 of the Constitution that calls for amendments?
Yeah, amending the Constitution, yeah.
Are you familiar with the second clause?
Well, not verbatim.
It basically what it does is it's a method that the states can use to force Congress to call a convention.
Yeah, you're talking about the Convention of the States.
Where amendments can be proposed.
Uh-huh.
And it seems like nobody knows anything about it or how it works.
Including the people pushing it, yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm pushing it.
Mm-hmm. That's fine. And, it's just that I've had a lot of people, as I've discussed, I've been talking about this since Las Vegas. A lot of the people who push it, and it's okay if you support it, by the way, it's just that they will say that it's impossible for something to happen when, in fact, it's not impossible for something to happen.
Right, and actually, the requirements for it to actually happen have already been achieved. It's just that Congress is ignoring it.
I didn't think that they had reached the threshold yet. Have they reached the threshold?
Every state has put in hundreds of requests for a constitution or a constitutional convention.
Okay, yeah, but putting in a request is not.
They may have tied it to a specific cause, but they still called for a convention.
Yeah, but it's got to be passed. So I have to look at the numbers. So like just introducing legislation or calling for it is not good enough. You've got to have the legislature pass it, the state legislature.
Can I give you a website?
I'm familiar with them. I know all of them, but I just haven't looked in on it in a while to see what the status is of some of those proposed bills. So
okay, because Friends of the Article 5 Convention is got quite a bit of information on the subject, and
sure.
If I could give that website, it'd probably help you out.
Now, do you believe that this is the wisest course of action, and are you willing to risk the U.S. Constitution in order to do it? Have we gotten to that point? Because you will be risking the Constitution, and anybody who tells you won't be is not accurate. You will be risking it.
It still has to go through the same amendment process, which is three-quarters of the state.
Sure, but they can alter it. Yeah, they can alter it any way that they want. Are you willing to take that risk?
They cannot alter an amendment that's been proposed to the states. This just doesn't happen.
No, I'm not talking about that amendment. I'm just saying, are you willing to risk a fundamental changing of the U.S. Constitution, which absolutely can happen?
So what are we risking now?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Are you at that point where you're saying, you know what, we've got to do something and I'm willing to take that risk? Are you at that point?
I think it should be thrown open.
Okay.
I think yes. Yes.
Oh, and that's fair. You know, I'm not there yet, but I understand why people like you are. Now,
it doesn't have to be a specific amendment already written that's going to the states. I mean, the states are going to.
Well, no, you won't be able to set the rules until the convention is actually called in. So right, exactly. Once the convention Congress
has to say, okay, the states can do this now.
Correct.
And they won't do it. They're ignoring their job, basically.
Well, and I have to look in to see if they've actually met the threshold to get it. You said that they have. I'll look and I'll double check that. But now here's the thing that I have to remind people about, because I know that my friend Mark Levin, he's pushed this, and I know a couple of others have pushed this as well. If you go back 15 years, less than 15 years actually, because I've talked about this since I started, it was liberals who were pushing a convention of states. So, you know, they wanted to change the Constitution. They wanted to do the convention of states. Now it's kind of swung back to the political right. Conservatives want to do it. And the only thing that I want people to understand is the liberals have wanted this for a very long time, and they will send their A game. I mean, they are going to send their best people to go to this convention. They're going to elect them as delegates or nominate them as delegates, you know, with the process, and they're going to send their best people. Now, I'm not trusting of state legislatures like a lot of people are.
But let me explain exactly what you said they were going to do. Mm-hmm. They're not sending their best people to pass amendments, to ratify amendments. They're sending them to propose amendments.
Mm-hmm.
They still have to, after they're done proposing those amendments.
Yeah, it's got to be voted on. You're right.
It's for nothing but proposing amendments.
You're right. But the state legislatures are the ones that kind of have the big power here with getting delegates there. And the trust in
the... also have to ratify.
You're 100% right. Yeah, you're totally right. But my concern is I don't trust state legislatures. Like, for instance, Indiana is a Republican state, but their legislature, let's face it, they're moderates to moderate left, maybe slightly right. They're not exactly conservatives. And Indiana is not alone in that. So my fear is that you're going to get a lot of these state legislatures who do it. You're going to get some conservative champions. There's no doubt about that. You're going to get some liberal lions, no doubt about that. You're going to get a lot of moderates in the middle. And I think that's where the danger is. Now, if you believe, if your position, and I totally understand this, if your position is, look, we're descending right now, we have to do something. That's fine. At least you're being consistent, and I can appreciate that, and even to an extent support it. My big fear is that a lot of people who have been talking about the Convention of States for many years don't believe it is possible for the Constitution to be fundamentally changed and altered to where the United States pretty much shifts the way that it governs. And it absolutely can. If you read Article 5, you go through the rules of how this happens, the country can be completely altered and changed. And if you're willing to risk that, that's cool. That's fine. But let's not pretend that that isn't the possibility.
Well, no, I'm not. No, the whole principle, the whole purpose of an Article 5 convention is to propose amendments.
Sure. Yeah, so, I get it. I'm just.
It's not going to happen after the convention. The convention is over. Certainly, there's going to be some proposals put out there. A product of this convention, but that doesn't mean it's already amended the Constitution.
No, yes, yes, 100%. And I don't mean to sound I don't mean to sound like that. I'm saying that you're doing this. I'm just going over years of conversations with the prominent individuals who started this movement, going back 12 years when it was first getting going before Mark Levin ever mentioned it, that sort of thing.
I've paid attention to this for quite a while too, and it seems like the biggest fear is the fact that once this convention is over with, we're going to have a brand new constitution that's totally foreign to what we've known. Mm-hmm. And that's just not the case. That's far from the case. All they're doing is saying the same thing that Congress does when they ratify an amendment.
Yeah.
Instead of the Congress putting together and 400, however many people vote on it up there, mm-hmm. It's not a constitutional amendment. After that happens, it has to go out to the states. The last amendment, the 27th Amendment right now, mm-hmm. that sat on the books since 1789.
Yeah, it was there for a long time. Yeah, there for a long time. All right. Yeah, so you're advocating for it, and you seem to understand the process better than most Convention of State proponents that I've talked to over the years, including, again, some of the big wigs and the local movements for it.
I know state legislatures that have no idea what it is.
Oh, sure.
How it works.
Yeah, absolutely. There's no doubt that there's a lot of people who don't understand it. And like I said, a lot of those people are outside of the movement, but some of them are inside the movement as well. And, as long as people are smart about it, and that's always been kind of one of my biggest things is I'm okay if you want to push this and you want to do it. You just have to understand that this is not going to be a conservatives walking in and changing things for the better sort of a scenario. There is going to be a dogfight.
There are people going to be going in there and saying, we want a balanced budget amendment, and we're going to formulate and put down on paper a balanced budget amendment, and we're going to throw it out to the states to have to ratify.
Yeah, it's you're going to get a lot of nutty things, which you're going to get a lot of nutty things that you alluded to as well that a lot of moderates will go for. And give you a perfect example, I guess, would be red flag laws.
The thing of it is, right now, it's not going to happen the way it is. The way we think of the ratification process, mm-hmm. we think it's impossible that it's going to happen because it's not, because of self-interest, And everybody's got the impression that Congress is the only way you can get an amendment started. Congress has to throw it to the states.
And the Convention of the States, just in case anybody's confused, I mean, the Convention of States is absolutely a constitutional and legal process. This is something that can happen. I have to double check the legislation in the state legislatures and see if you've met the threshold yet. You said that you did. I'll take your word for it, but I want to double check it. And if they have, then we can start making phone calls.
Convention that stop it at that. There's hundreds of them.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to be in D.C. actually in September, so I'll get the data and then I can start talking to politicians when I'm in D.C. for that convention. So, all right. Hey, Michael, I'm running a little bit late. I got to bail on you, but I appreciate the call, man. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
You take care. We've got more coming up. News Talk 95.3, Michiana's News Channel.